Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. My name is Jeff Taylor, Sports Director at Bahakel Sports. Thanks for joining us. And we are joined today by a very special guest, Mr. Tripp Roakes, who I do believe is joining us from the coast this morning, if I'm correct. Tripp,
Yeah,
how are you, sir?
you did pull me off of the sand and surf of Oak Island this morning, but anything for you guys, and of course anything for Bahakel Communications for sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. So let me just tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick. You do own and founder creator of South Charlotte Sports Report, correct?
Correct. That's
Cool.
we'll get into that for sure,
Yep.
but that has been the last 20 plus years of my life, and working with local youth athletes, and really just promoting, telling their stories. I
Yeah.
like to sometimes call myself a storyteller, and just telling the
So do I.
stories of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I. So let's talk a little bit about growing up. Can you talk to me a little bit about sports growing up? Did you play? Maybe what were
Oh
they? Did
yeah.
you play? Pop Warner Middle School, high school? Just talk to me a little bit about that and growing up.
I am a 100% North Carolinian. I have lived from the mountains to the coast,
All
and
right.
have loved every minute of it. And don't think I'll ever leave here. But my growing up was primarily Salisbury, Morganton, Durham, Wilkesboro. So kind of a wide range of cities growing up. And I was much more a baseball fan, baseball player than anything. But back then, we played every sport.
Right.
Our baseball season
Exactly.
was 18 games, 20 games, 22 games. There were years with my son Tyler where we played, oh man, we probably played 125 games in a year sometimes over the last few years. So it's completely different now for sure.
Let me ask you about that real quick, when you're on this podcast, you'll know it just kind of ebbs and flows as you talk and I
Yeah.
talk. You did mention that. I know that, like when I grew up, I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football, and just kind of enjoyed it all. I struggle a little bit with it, in terms of I'm a football guy, always been a football guy, and my kids mainly played football, and I always wonder, I struggle with that about kids just playing one sport, because I hear athletes talk about, hey, you should do all kinds of sports, but have we gotten to this world where we kind of live in where parents want to see their kids kind of, I want to call it the Tiger Woods syndrome, where you take that kid who's just awesome and we're going to go right there and he's going to go play, high school, he's going to go play college, he's going to go play in the pros, and the parents have this kind of big head about themselves. Are we in a tough spot with that? Because I know, listen, you're on the south side with me, so Mara, I talk about Mara baseball, which is a
Sure.
great thing. But man, it's 24/7. It seems like
It is.
365 days a
It
year.
is. Well, you said a key word a minute ago. You said athletes tell us to play all these sports. Okay, that is fine for your elite level athlete.
Right.
For your guy that doesn't have to do all the extra training that my son or your son or 99% of the kids have to do just to reach a real positive level in their sport. If my son would have divided his time and played three sports in high school, he would have never been able to excel at the level that he did as an all-state baseball player in high school.
Right.
Never.
Yep.
He had to focus that kind of time because he was not an elite level athlete. And when I say elite level athlete, I'm talking the Steve Smiths,
Right.
the folks like that,
Sure.
Brandon Millers, that's an elite level. They could get by with playing two or three sports.
Right.
If our kids want to succeed or have any type of goal of playing successfully in high school or college, boy, it's tough to play more than one or two of them. However, you go to the small towns, let's drive up to Salisbury or somewhere like that. You
Right.
got a lot more kids playing a lot more sports there. However, that high school has 800 kids in it, whereas Ardrey Myers Park has what, 4,000?
4,000. Yeah. It's crazy.
So it's sometimes our choices are dictated to us. You look at Ardrey High School in the what's the right in the baseball, basketball, football types of sports. You don't see too many people at Ardrey or Myers Park playing
Crossover.
two,
Yeah.
and probably very little playing that combination of three. You can do an indoor track and outdoor track and things like that, but you can't. It's difficult. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to succeed.
Yeah. I talk about two of my kids played football at Providence. And I just
That's right.
remember my oldest playing at Providence. And I remember like it was a different ball game even back when he played. And then Nate played, just a couple years back. But even when Nate played, it went from, as soon as they were done, it was, we're going to start thinking about next year. There was Zoom calls. It was, it's crazy. It's 24/7. So,
I mean, yeah, their lifting program, and now
right.
last
Yeah.
few years we've added what, a spring football, what, a 10-day. I think it's 10, 12 days of
Then,
practice
yeah.
that they can have, and
Yeah.
if you're a baseball player, that's hard to pull off.
Right. And I
When
know
you're playing any other spring sport, it's hard to pull off.
and I remember talking to some kids who had that conversation of even with, I want to play football, but I also want to play baseball. And the baseball football coaches are kind of going at it, going, "Hey, pick one, stick with it." And
And I
so
get it. I
yeah,
get it from their aspect. I completely get it.
well, like, and you mentioned something, and you talk about like the athlete per se. I always go back to, and I know you talked with him when he was an undrafted free agent with the Minnesota Vikings. But I go back to one of the best kids I know from this area who
oh,
played and was Jordan Fair. Um,
yeah.
Jordan and Jack played together, and I knew Jack was going to play high school because he enjoyed it and he enjoyed being on the team. Jordan Fair, different ball game. So Jack, I could have seen playing different sports and everything else, but I got where Jordan was so locked in to get that shot. So it's kind of crazy that way. So let's
Yeah.
transition a little bit. So you grow up playing sports, kind of being around sports, and what kind of got you into this whole,
Okay.
doing what you do now? And can you talk
Yeah.
about
Well,
that? What
I
that
am
moment was like?
a proud graduate of East Carolina University. And so from there, I went to work in the athletic department of East Carolina for 3 or 4 years.
Okay,
And let
wow.
me tell you, athletic department jobs back then didn't even pay minimum wage. I mean, it was a disaster of what it
Wow.
paid. And I
Really?
just realized that, man, you can only do this for so many years.
Right.
And growing up where I did, I always had a love of NASCAR. So I found out about a job in NASCAR. I applied. Next thing you know, I have left East Carolina. I'm in the NASCAR marketing industry, and I stayed there for 17 years. And
Yep.
so that was full of excitement, lots of running all over the country, being gone 36 weekends a year. And then all of a sudden, you fall in love with somebody and get married and have a child, and to go with two other beautiful, wonderful stepchildren. Man, I was done going to Dover, Delaware, and
Oh,
places like that. And I told my wife and my son that I'm done. I'm going to figure out a way to adapt and get out of NASCAR. And somehow the thought of developing a youth sports newspaper came to mind as I was driving down Ardekale Road. And I promise you, it just came into my mind. And
wow.
I began to develop that, kept my NASCAR job. And once I got the newspaper on steady feet, I pulled the trigger. And here we are. We went with the newspaper for until the first day of COVID. The first day of COVID, I realized I'm done printing this newspaper. I'm going to roll into more social media. I had already started youth sports camps. For 18 years, I've done youth sports camps.
Right.
And by the way, my youth sports camps are the same price today that they were 18 years ago.
Really?
You want to find anybody in Charlotte still charging the same price as 18 years ago? Well, I have tons of baseball and multi-sports and cheerleading camps for little kids throughout the entire summer. And I have a good crowd that shows up because they can come for the same price that they could come for 18 years ago. So I
Oh,
had those. And I also have 8 really large award events for certain sports throughout the year. The Hot Stove League dinner was what I started with baseball and softball, and that's
right.
rolled into 7 or 8 dinners now. And I even have a baseball and softball awards in the Blue Ridge and a
Okay.
baseball and softball awards in Salisbury. So that's what I've rolled into. And again, it goes back to, I just want to see kids do well. I want to see kids make good decisions, and I want to recognize kids that study and work hard and follow the rules and have goals in life. And
Yeah.
over the last few years, that's become much stronger. I went through a tragedy. I lost my wife to brain cancer a little over a year ago. Still tough to talk about at times, but that after a year of rehabilitating myself, I guess you could say,
Right.
I've become just more committed to doing good things for kids and telling kids stories and whatever I can do in youth sports. And that's the way that I'm going to keep going. And kids come first with me, and I will fight like heck for them. As you know, no one fought any harder during COVID when we saw some of the craziness going on there with sports. But I just want to see kids playing, having a good time, and making good decisions. And that's my life now. It's that's where I'm at.
Well, it is an awesome thing you do, and I know when you make an impact on kids' lives, it's important. And for me, I will be very honest with you. One of the most heart touching moments for me was, I think we were talking to Jordan Fair, and you asked him a specific question about any coaches he'd like to thank or something, and the first person he said was myself.
That feels great. It's just
and
you don't want to publish. You're not. Hey, I didn't do it for that, but boy,
right.
when you take the time to tell me that I made an impact on your life,
Yep.
you touch my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the cool part is, let me back up on one thing you said real quick too, was when we first moved to Charlotte in 1999, I worked for TNN back in the day, the Nashville network. So I think
Yeah,
that's where we've kind of got
we've come across each other. Now that you
right.
say that, everything comes together from NASCAR. There we go.
But I remember the same thing though. I worked for TNN for 3 years, but same thing with you. On the road 36, 38 weekends a year. Jack was a year old and I was sitting in Pocono. And I remember Lori putting him on the phone, and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore.
No,
And had to get out of it. And most people who listen to the podcast probably don't know this, but so I really got out of media for a while and actually did youth ministry for 17 years, working with middle school and high school kids. So it's crazy how life throws you some curves. The man upstairs throws you some curves, and but at the end it's all a blessing. So it is kind of cool. But back to telling stories. I think the cool part, what you and I get a chance to do, especially with what you're doing, and then here at Bahakel Sports, is our game plan is, and what we've tried to do is, sports is not about the X's and O's. Sports to me is about, like you said, the stories you can tell. Because really everybody out there, whether you're batting ninth in the lineup or batting cleanup, everybody has a story. Everybody brings something to the table. And I think to be able to tell those stories is a pretty cool deal.
I fully agree. And that's, it's just feel like that's my purpose in life now, is to share those stories. Those stories aren't hard to find.
No,
they're really not. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of media that just fall to the easy story, the easy path, and really promote things that, in all honesty, are not very important in life.
Right.
I really don't care that some kid is transferring for the third time in high school. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And I'll gladly say it.
Oh,
I care about the kid that is facing hardship.
right.
When in my son's final year of high school, in a 1-year period, this is with 18 players at Carmel Christian School, 3 young men, including my son, lost their mothers.
Wow.
3 out of 18.
Wow.
And you just think that's
right.
How did they make it through? How did they have, I mean, as far as my son goes, he had the most incredible baseball coach that is now one of his best friends that he does something with every other day. Coach Chris Manriquez is just completely brought Tyler through those times, through the 21 months that we went through it. But he also had to deal with that with 2 other players losing their mothers. And
wow.
Those kind of stories, sadly, are everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. And, I'm all about kids that can overcome obstacles.
Yep.
That's my kind of story that I want to tell. And it's too many of them, but yeah, I'll tell them every time I hear them.
It's almost to me like I would rather watch ESPN for like the 30 or 30, or when they do the Make-A-Wish with the kids or whatever, than watch the highlights and the scores.
So and I'm okay with I'm okay with shedding a tear while I'm watching something.
Oh, I've taught all my boys. I did it when I did youth ministry and stuff. It's okay to see a man shed a few tears.
Oh yeah.
and
There's
let
no
them know
doubt.
you
It's
have.
okay to cry.
Yep, let them know you have some emotion. So let me ask you this: in your time doing this, and I'm sure you've just there's stories after stories after stories. Is there one or two that really just kind of resonated? I mean, you mentioned, the three, including your son who lost their moms. Are there a couple other stories that you kind of just over your years have just been like, wow?
You definitely put me on the spot there.
Or are
But
they all good? They're
there are,
probably
and,
all
and
like
I'm
they're probably all
ashamed to
like that,
say that this story was 10 or 12 years ago, and his name will come to me after we get off of this podcast.
right?
South Meck High School baseball player, at least 10 years ago. His mom, I believe, had the same type brain cancer as my wife.
Okay,
And senior year of high school, just like we went through. And I told his story in the front page of my newspaper of what that was like and the fact that they were bringing his mother to the games in her last phase of life. They had the car positioned
wow,
where she could watch, and
wow,
in one of those final games he hit a home run.
wow,
And those stories like that. And
right?
the every school has things like this. There was a young lady, you were at, I think you did something with Weddington High School softball or something maybe the other day. Someone
Yep,
did.
yep,
But
I did it
Claire
well.
Lyre was the head coach there.
Yep,
Claire had a young lady 2 years ago that cancer, leukemia, I can't say exactly for sure,
okay,
had to sit out the year. But the social media and aspects and things that they did to keep her pepped up that the whole school participated in,
right.
and those kind of things. And she came back and played again. And there's so many of them have been able to come back and play again. And that's what it's all about. We've got lots of football stories like that as well. And
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, because I have had the chance to talk to players and coaches, and we'll go from the media side of it. You mentioned the kid who transfers high school three times. Um, with the transfer portal for colleges, with the NIL deal for colleges and even private schools, in Carolina in terms of high schools and stuff like that. I'm scared, Trip, that for the younger kids, we're losing the purity of what sports are about.
oh, I agree. And
And
you
and
know,
it,
I I
go
don't even
ahead.
think 90% of the people could tell you what NIL truly means, because NIL was not something. It's become something that it wasn't intended for. It was to allow athletes to use their name, image, likeness to
Right,
endorse companies or things like that. It was not for a certain college to give $100,000 so you'll come play here. So
right.
it's just so out of control. And I don't know what will happen as it goes through high school. I know it's allowed now in the private school ranks, but I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I hear some crazy stories. I hear some crazy stories from big time schools in California and stuff like that have been told to me. And I don't know if there's any money being exchanged now. I'm sure there's scholarships being presented, and that's a little bit different. But
right. Sure. The scholarship.
every is different. But what's the saying? Everybody wants to get their bag now.
Yeah.
Where's my bag? I want my bag.
You
Well,
want?
there's always so many bags. And listen, there's only 40, 50 colleges that are really going to be able to play this game in the end. There's a lot of schools trying to keep up. It's not going to,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to keep up with the big time
Well, when you
schools.
talk, when you talk NIL, and I think you've probably had people who listen to the podcast and watch the podcast here or whatever, they know I like the transfer portal. I don't like it. I've
No.
I've never liked it. I get it to a point at sometimes or whatever, but now when you see, like you said, there's nothing that kind of when I see a kid in high school going, "Hey, I'm going to take my talents to elsewhere," I'm like, "You're high school."
Yeah.
And for me, the transfer portal is one of those deals. It's like, are you transferring because you're not happy where you're at, and you're not happy where you're at because you're not playing, and the reason you're not playing is because you're not putting in the effort to
Yeah.
to get it done. I always like Coach Sanders when Dion went into Colorado, and he was like, "Hey, I'm bringing my dogs. You guys just need to find, whether you can make it or not." I'm like, okay, I could get a kid leaving there. that
Yeah.
that I could get, but
But you've got kids now that are on their fourth college.
right,
What do you
exactly,
think what do you think that kid's transcript looks like?
not good.
No. it's not going to lead to graduation.
And I would venture to say, and I guess I should tread lightly, is that the transcript also probably matches the work ethic on the field, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you think you're going to get that way, go the way. So talk to me a little bit about this summer in terms of, so you got camps going on this summer?
I got 15, 20 different camps going on.
So
So
how
I'm
do
really
let me
excited about that.
let me ask you, how do you keep it all together, man? With that many.
You just, I don't know. You do something long enough, you learn how to do it the easiest way, or the way that works for you. And I have so many repeat customers that come back to us, and I deliver a good customer service based, fun camp. That's what I'm delivering. And my audience is age 4 to 11, 12.
Okay.
I do have something really neat that you may really like. I did it at Christmas and it was a huge success. I have added 3 baseball card collecting camps this summer. That has been a lifelong passion of mine, and all of them are getting close to being sold out already. It was just a right thing at the right time. A lot of these younger kids are getting back into baseball card collecting, and I love sharing my knowledge with them. But so that'll be my time. My son is coaching a showcase, national showcase 2027 baseball team. So
Okay.
I will. It's a lot easier watching him coach than watching him play. He's also playing adult league baseball, so I'll be at those games.
Okay.
He's playing 3 different softball, 3 different adult softball leagues. So I go to every one of them. He's my life. I love it. I watch it, and then he's working to get himself ready to get back on a college baseball field, hopefully. So it's we got detoured for a couple of years with everything we went through,
Right.
but that'll be my summer. And any day I'm not doing any of those, I will be sitting on the beach at Oak Island. I can promise that to anyone.
Hey,
It's
that's fantastic.
it's become my place, and it's just brought me the happiness that I needed. So
Hey, absolutely. I'm a beach guy too. I'm not a mountain guy. Well, I say I'm not a mountain guy. It's just mountain. I don't know. I'm a mountain during the winter and beach during the summer.
there we go.
We'll do
Yeah.
that route. So let me ask you this, real quick for the people who are listening and watching. How can they check all this stuff out? Can you
All my camps are at South Charlotte Sports Camps.com.
Okay.
I have a pretty heavy Twitter presence, and my Twitter X handle is SC Sports Report.
Okay.
And man, people can email me, text me, anything. I'm here to help this community with anytime a family has questions on anything with their kids at any age in sports. I'll be their guy. I'll be glad to help lead people in the right direction. And I'm just going to try to be a good guy the rest of my time here on this earth.
Well, I know I've known you for quite some time now, and I can tell everybody out there what a great guy you are and what a advocate you are for the kids in our area and the sports in our area. And
Thank you.
you're doing it the right way. And that's always a cool thing. And I appreciate you. I know you're like I said, a blessing to everybody around here in South Charlotte. So as well as around the area. So hey, I'm going to let you get back to the beach.
Yes.
And enjoy yourself. But hey, listen, let's keep in touch, and I will make sure that we get on our website and all my social media. I'll put out your links and all of that for everything you got going on there. But hey, we appreciate all you do, and we thank you for your time.
I'll be here for anything you ever need. You have a good day.
All right, Tripp. Hey, listen, guys. That is it for this episode of the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. Once again, our thanks to Mr. Tripp Roakes for taking some time to get off the beach for a few and help us out. And like I said, wherever you watch podcasts, listen, just make sure you subscribe to our podcast, like it. We don't do this without you guys. We love to keep in touch, comment, do whatever. Until our next podcast, take care.